So here we have your typical Canvas course. And the first thing I want to mention is that Turnitin is an Lti app. Whether or not you're familiar with that term, it doesn't really matter. It's similar to something like Respondus or Cengage. It's a third-party app. However, that tends to cause confusion because normally when people think of third-party apps added to Canvas, you think about this left-hand menu. And what I want you to know is Turnitin does not utilize this left-hand menu. You will not find a link to Turnitin anywhere in your course, and your students won't find a link to Turnitin. Turnitin has already been installed on your courses. Yes, all your courses, already installed. The place where you will find it is in your assignment settings. And I do mean specifically assignments, not quizzes. Unfortunately, the integration does not work with discussions, which I know is a huge bummer to a lot of you. We can have some discussions about workarounds for that. But what we're looking at is creating a new Canvas assignment. So you should be pretty familiar with this by now. You hit the plus sign inside of one of your modules. You've got assignments here selected in the dropdown, and then I would say new assignment. I could give it a name and then add that item to my modules. I'm going to go ahead and open up an assignment I've already created. So I'm going to go down here. This is called Assignment with Turnitin. I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And I'm going to go into the settings up here at the top right where it says Edit. That's going to take me to the settings page for this particular assignment. Now, here is the thing you need to know. This is important. So write this down or what have you. The important factor is that the submission type must be online, and you must select text entry and or file upload. This restriction doesn't matter. I'm going to turn that off. So text entry, file upload, or both. Unfortunately does not work with website URL or media recordings. What that will do is it will, down here, you will see plagiarism review appear magically. This is where you find Turnitin in your courses. This is the place. You choose from the dropdown. There'll be this dropdown. We only have Turnitin as our only option. For those of you who are a little more tech savvy and want to Google around, our product is called Turnitin Similarity. That's the full name of the product that we use. Turnitin has several products. And so to set this up, you get these options and you can choose these settings. So as it was described to me, you can choose now or later, you can change these settings, whether to exclude the student's bibliography from the similarity report, just under the assumption that their bibliography is probably going to match something. You can also choose to exclude students' quotes. So I know this was kind of a shock for, like, different people in different subject areas have different philosophies about whether students and how students are allowed to quote material or whether that's, taboo. Your subject, and the thing to consider with these two settings, if I exclude quotes, students will have a lower similarity percentage. Similarity percentage meaning amount, quote unquote, copied, right? Amount of matching to something else on the web or to another paper. If I don't exclude quotes, then everything that's quoted might match something that's out there because it is a direct quote. Students will see this percentage. So if you have high anxiety students, maybe consider leaving quotes excluded, maybe excluding more things so that students aren't saying, oh my God, I got, a higher, like Turnitin is saying that I copied more, right? Well, no, it's just doing, it's AI, right? It's a computer algorithm. It's only so smart. So I would consider maybe excluding more things up front. And then, like I said, you can change those settings later. You are not locked in. Indexing. So indexing submissions means Turnitin will keep that submission. Now, students, when they turn in the assignment, they get just one little extra checkbox that says that they agree to the terms of use for Turnitin, and part of that is that students retain ownership over their papers. We've been told that Turnitin just uses these under fair use, and the benefit of indexing, it's your choice, is that if Johnny in your class turns in a paper, and then next semester Susan, who is Johnny's brother, turns in a paper, and they share some similarities between each other, then Turnitin would have Johnny's paper indexed in KVCC's private repository. And so you would be able to check for collusion in between other classes and in between semesters. And then you get to decide when to generate the similarity report. For now, I recommend just keeping it at immediately and on the due date. If you have questions about why that is, we can talk about that. And then down here, final option, show report to students either immediately. So this would be your students can see their own report right away. Make sure that they know that that number could change. Because again, if Johnny turns something in and then later Susie turns something in, their number might change if there's a match between them. You could show it to them after the assignment is graded. You could show it to them after the due date, or you could show it to them never. It could be completely just for your own information. That is the gist of setting up Turnitin in Canvas. So to review, create an assignment, come down here to submission type and make sure it says online. It must be text entry or file upload or both. And then down here under plagiarism review, choose Turnitin. When, adding Turnitin to rough drafts early on gets students used to the idea of Turnitin and sort of using that as an opportunity to explain and define plagiarism. Other countries' definitions of plagiarism is really different from ours. Like the concept of ownership of your material and citations is very culturally subjective. And so please don't assume that your students necessarily know what is expected of them in terms of academic originality. And Turnitin could be really more of a learning tool as opposed to a gotcha tool. I kind of want to show where Turnitin lives on the other side of the process, which is after stuff has been turned in. So basically, here's my assignment with Turnitin. I'm going to go grade things in SpeedGrader the way I normally would. You can also access that from the gradebook, however you do your grading. It's very subtle. So if you want your students to use this as a learning tool, I would highly recommend, maybe taking a screen share. There's using the documentation from Turnitin that's meant for students on how to use it. But it's this thing here or this thing here. So it's red if it's above, I believe, 75% similarity. And it might be, I tested it and it was yellow for something else. Which is not very colorblind friendly, but in any case, you also get this number over here. And basically you click on either of these flags, and your students can click on either of these, on this flag in particular, if you have this visible to students, and that will take you into the Turnitin document viewer. Again, keeping in mind that the number you get is going to be very subjective to the type of writing that is being done. You can see I just copied this from Wikipedia, so obviously the number is high. I can see other content that matches with this from here. This flags over here is where you get that, students trying to trick the system with Cyrillic or white text or anything like that. And if you need a reminder, always, you can use this, the guide and the tour to help remind you what is available in this view. Next, we will show Turnitin from the student perspective when they go to submit the assignment. So there it is. There's the checkbox. It doesn't even say Turnitin. If I click on the end user agreement, which who does that, right? Then students will, find it, Turnitin user agreement. So yeah, so if I go text entry, paste that right in there. Again, I'm just pasting from Wikipedia, so I agree that this this assignment submission is my own original work. So I'm certifying that I am not doing what I clearly am doing right now. And then when students go to look at the submission, so they can go to submission details. Again, it's very subtle. So, yep, here it is. This, you're like, what even is that, Molly? It is a stopwatch icon. That means that Turnitin is still processing. It does not take very long for a paper of this size. Usually it's only taken within a couple of minutes. And then as a student, I can click on that and they will see pretty much the same originality report or similarity report that you see. I believe this is from the student view, but I would 100% recommend that you double check the numerous valuable resources from Turnitin that are written for the student audience, and additionally share those with your students so that you can kind of get the student experience. Just as a reminder, make sure that you're running plagiarism checks on all of your students and not just on one student that you suspect of cheating. We just want to make sure we're treating all of our students fairly and equitably. So if you run plagiarism checks, it's fine. Just make sure you check all your students.